lost my mother and my father, my brothers and their daughters. Now everyone's gone and here I am praying in the dark. Is someone take this hatred and this hurt? 'Cause I can't stand the pain, I make it worse. Loaded in a chamber till it burns. Anything to make you feel what I feel, what I feel. Now you feel. These chains, live free or die, breaking these chains, breaking these chains. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Kind of sets the for the day. Peace. Peace is what we all seek. Now we're going to have a message from the executive director of the NAACP branch here in the city of Detroit, Camilla Landrum. Thank you. Let's give her a hand.
Good morning, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. This is a special occasion. You know, he has been a longtime partner with Crio'S, but also eliminating racism and discrimination and fighting for human and civil rights. We mostly focus in on the areas of criminal justice, civic engagement, health and education, economic sustainability, all areas in which we know it is important for us to be able to advance and discredit any issues that come within our way. Today is so important because not only are we honoring some very important people in the field, but you're honoring folks who truly embrace your theme of being resilient in action. Some of them I have the pleasure of sitting at tables with and working with, and I do know that without a doubt they bring their truest passion to work with them and in the projects that they work on. I don't have a long time to be up here, and that's perfectly fine because today is all about you. But I just wanted to say that I don't think that this is a time of rest just because we're in a happy season. This is certainly happy holidays. This is a wonderful occasion, but we know without a doubt that we have a long road and a long journey ahead. And so it is very important that as activists, as folks that care about peace, folks that care about justice, that we make sure that we are fired up and indeed ready to go whenever the call to action goes out. As we continue to celebrate and we certainly mourn the loss of Nikki Giovanni, one of the most profound poets and authors of our time, I found this quote and I thought that it was very important to share with you today. There is always something to do. There are hungry people to feed, naked people to clothe, sick people to comfort and make well. And while I don't expect you to save the world, I do think it's not asking too much for you to love those with whom you sleep, share happiness with those whom you call friends, and engage those among you who are visionary. Remove folks from your life who offer you depression, despair, or disrespect. And so as we honor her in her passing, but also we celebrate this presentation of awards, I just wanted to say there is always something to do, and I'm so thankful for those that we are honoring today. They continue to answer that call. Happy holidays and congratulations.
Thank you. Ships across the city of Detroit. We extend our we're building that we're always connected. And so NAACP will always be a part of the Civil Rights Department and how we do the work that we do. So I want to also recognize very quietly Anthony Zander. And I would also like to bring up Jacob Jones to the microphone to share with you more extensive part of our Creole history and how we became Creole. Give Jacob Jones a hand.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Jacob Jones. As you see here on the screen, Crio'S, you know me as the city's incentives compliance manager. But my 5 to 9, or after my 9 to 5, I'm a working historian in town, a member of the Albert Kahn Legacy Foundation history column. I lead tours around the city, and I love learning about the city government's history as well. And I'm very excited to share the story of sort of the early years of what we now know as many people in this room know, was experiencing an industrial boom on an enormous scale that was really unmatched, not just anywhere in the country, but anywhere across the world. Now, many people like to romanticize this era. They look at old photos or they stare up at our grand skyscrapers and believe it was a harmonious time, a productive time, where everything was going great. But along with the wealth and prosperity, Detroit was hit with a wave of social, political, and economic issues. Among those were workers' rights, fair housing, today, and prejudice rapidly grew. At times, the city led efforts to create boards and groups and commissions to combat racial prejudice and discrimination and inequality of all types, but the groups hardly ever made long-lasting change. I think the opinion of those groups in the city is best presented on here. When Wayne University, now Wayne State University, was asked to comment on these different groups and boards and subcommittees in the 1930s, they stated that these groups had come into existence after riotous events, studied the situation, prepared and submitted reports and recommendations, and then quietly and ineffectually passed by into oblivion. Long story short, lasting change did not come from these sort of subcommittees and groups. But the story of sort of Crio'S as we know it today, as Renard mentioned earlier, begins on the next slide in 1943, when a riot hit the city. Now, Renard did a great job of sort of giving you the backdrop there, and a presentation on all the events would last a lot longer than the 5 minutes I have with you all today. If you want to know more about these events, I definitely recommend you check out the Reuther Library at Wayne State University, where I spent most of my time in undergrad. But the long and short of it is, as Detroit boomed, workers migrated into the city at remarkable rates. Housing demand spiked, and while white Detroiters used every tool in their toolkit they could to keep black people out of the success that the city was experiencing. They prevented people from moving into neighborhoods at the same automotive factories that we associate with this boom time. Overall, black Detroiters were workplace, segregated into specific neighborhoods, met with terrible racism from their neighbors, their fellow citizens, their co-workers, their bosses, city officials, and the police department. Over the course of the early 1940s, violence really upticks in factories, in the workplaces, where a lot of these working class folks are colliding. And things really hit a head on June 20th, 1943, where a riot initially breaks out on Belle Isle. Over 100,000 people jammed the island, and violence occurred. And again, we can't go into the entire story of it in the time we have today. But the long and short of it is that violence and, just as important, rumors, kind of the fake news of the era of what was happening, spread across the city. And violence erupted everywhere from Woodward Avenue to Black Bottom, to neighborhoods all across town. Eventually, 3,500 troops were called in to quell the violence, and in all, 34 people were killed during the riot. Only 9 of those were white, 25 were black. But I think the most important note to notice here is that of the 25 black people killed, 17 of them were killed by police. No white people were killed by police. Now, the riot itself came as a shock. Oh, could you go back a couple of slides here? Thanks. The riot was shocking, there's no doubt about it. It was much more unexpected in white Detroit than it was in black Detroit, who had been dealing with these prejudices over the course of this industrial boom. And created the doesn't really roll off the tongue, but to investigate the riot and to work on managing racial tensions in the city. Again, the committee's findings can be found at the Ruther Library. If you're ever interested in checking that out, I definitely recommend it. They have a great staff over there. But in short, the committee was really ignored by white Detroiters for the most part. If you head to the next slide here, you can see that other than this message in the Detroit Times, which was essentially a PR photo opportunity, it's one of the few mentions in the predominantly white newspapers at the time. It was the Michigan Chronicle, though, who really highlighted the work. An additional group was created later on called the Coordinating Council on Community Relations in 1947, and their job was to work with the Interracial Committee and outside groups who were in charge of community relations and human rights across town. And then on the next slide, you'll see a big change happens in 1953 when the Interracial Committee was transformed into the Commission on Community Relations. It was composed of department heads, people from all across the city who worked in city government. Just how ignored this committee was, elite white people in Detroit. There was no mention of it hardly ever in the Detroit Free Press or the Detroit News or the Detroit Times. But the Michigan Chronicle did an awesome job of getting the work of the committee out into the community. They posted weekly sort of advice columns on where you could go if you were being discriminated against in town. They accepted letters to the editor where people in the neighborhood actually complained about the lack of work being done by the committee. They created reports, they did addresses. Historians can debate whether or not it was successful or not, but it did lay the framework to create the Crio'S as we know today. And then, the name sort of stays the same throughout most of the 1960s. But if you head to the next slide, Jordan, we'll see that the real major change comes in 1974, the same year that Mayor Coleman A. Young was inaugurated as mayor. A major city charter comes through, which actually changes the name to the Human Rights Department. As we did not in the 1967 rebellion. And people were very tired of these sort of ad hoc committees of private citizens, of sort of executives who didn't really have a stake in the work being done by the committee to help Detroiters. A lot of that had to do with the actions of the stress police unit, which again, we don't have time to get into today, but it really led to a massive push to change the city charter, which it did, and of course it established the Human Rights Department, which, if you go to the next slide, Jordan, you'll see the Human Rights Department expands their scope rapidly. They continued to work on civil rights and continued to advocate for sort of racial unity in the city, but they also took a big focus on gender equality. They attempted to decrease pay gaps within the city government. And the part that really set them apart from any other department across the country was their work to provide protections for people with different sexualities. Detroit, in this new city charter, became the largest city in the world to protect people on the basis of their sexuality. This 1974 change is remarkable. We can talk about the work done in 1926, we can talk about the work done in 1943, 53, and 1961, but is the actions taken in the city charter in 1974 and the big changes made to the Human Rights Department that allows for us, me and my entire team here at Creo today, to put on do this great work around town. Now, as a historian, my expertise. So to talk to you about the work that's been happening in Creo more recently, I'm going to
this work, and I know Anthony Zander, our director, has all that history in his head, but we just want to talk about where Creo is today and how we came about. So when the Duggan administration formulated the Human Rights Department changed to Civil Rights, Inclusion, and Opportunity. And I like to look at civil rights, inclusion, and opportunity as pillars, because every department under Creo functions to protect civil rights, to protect and encourage inclusion, to protect and encourage opportunity. So that's who we are. So a lot of people say, well, Creo is just about civil rights, but we have a civil rights team, but we also have a construction and outreach team who's committed to civil rights, inclusion, opportunity. My team is committed to civil rights, inclusion, and opportunity. So this just gives you a good idea of who we are. Look at us as pillars who are committed to uplifting civil rights, inclusion, and opportunity at all times. And the next slide just basically shows our why. Because in addition to investigating civil rights violations, Creo has expanded to all of the teams that I mentioned there: incentives compliance, Detroit business opportunity, our language access program. We house offices of disability affairs. We also house the Office of Cannabis Affairs. And just recently, our director announced that we are going to now house the Office of Veterans Affairs. I think that's notable. Veterans have a voice, and that now lives under civil rights, inclusion, and opportunity. So all of these programs under Creo matter, and this type of forum matters. So we're interested in building relationships and with you so that this continues to expand and we get stronger and stronger. So we want you to know who we are, connect with us, and stay with us as we go forward, okay? Thank you so much. Next slide.
Thank you, Lisa and Jacob. So we're queuing up now a history maker, the second woman to be acknowledged as deputy mayor for the city of Detroit, Malia Howard. And we have a video that we are going to play. And she has some words she wanted to share. Can't hear it? We got audio? So as we wait for them to get the audio together, what we're going to do, let's have a pivot and make sure I say it right. Ani Mendoza come up, who is our human rights chair. We'll go back to the deputy mayor's video presentation later in the program, but Ani, she is our human rights chair.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I say this in every room that I get to speak in and be a part of. Pleasure and privilege it is to be here. I really mean that, and so I am so grateful to be here today with all of you. My name is Ani Mendoza. I am the very fresh, newly elected chair for the Human Rights Commission. Prior to chair, I served District 2 as a Human Rights Commissioner, still serving the residents in District 2. It's been a privilege to serve the city of Detroit, to serve residents for the past 10 years. I've worked both within the city and quasi-governmental. I'm now at the state, at the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, supporting development in Detroit, specifically for Detroiters trying to scale up some of their commercial projects. In our best form, the Human Rights Commission, we are advocates, we are resource connectors to residents, we are a thought partner to Director Zander and his team, to the Civil Rights Department. And we bring our own lived experiences and industry knowledge to help move recommendations for operations, intake, remove barriers to entry and accessibility for some of the services. His team does a great job. To faith-based organizations, criminal legal experts, real estate development, grassroots, community organizing. How special is it to be a part of this commission and to serve Detroit residents? And most of all, support Director Zander and his team and the Detroit residents. How special is it to be elected the body's chair for the Human Rights Commission? I want to especially thank my father. They don't come to events like this often because it's during the workday. A migrant worker from southern Texas in the 60s, coming to Michigan, being a first-generation college graduate, and really paving the way for opportunities like this for myself. Ensuring that we understood what the pursuit and fight for empowerment and equity looked like. So thank you. So, somebody that embodies all of these wonderful characteristics. I'm not up here to talk totally about the commission. I am up here to introduce our keynote speaker, Bishop Darrell Harris. Darrell Harris is the founding pastor of Total Life Christian Ministries, TLC Ministries, in Detroit, and under his charismatic leadership, has served the city of Detroit for the past 28 years. He has been able to provide hope and empowerment to families and others in Northeast Detroit for more than 30 years. He serves in the building of the church by the means of pastoring congregations, mentoring leaders, empowering members, and providing spiritual professional coaching. He is passionate about community, and he is so passionate about an empathetic solution to community problems. Most recently, he's the program manager for Ceasefire. And for those that are unfamiliar, it is a joint law enforcement gang interruption effort to reduce crime, support restorative justice by reaching out to those that are direct perpetrators. He is also the founder of the Faith-Based Coalition, a collaboration of clergy within the community that responds to victims of violent crimes. Bishop Harris has been a member of the Human Rights Commission representing District 3 for 10 years. Look at that. It's been a while. He has served as vice chair for 3 terms. And he has been married to his wife for over 30 years. I believe at our last commission he had to get home because he had to celebrate his anniversary. So thank you for being with us on that day. Together in love, they have adopted 2 children, have 2 biological children, and have been surrogate to many others. Bishop Harris holds a Bachelor of Arts degrees from University of Michigan in psychology and is currently pursuing his master's degree. I want to especially thank Vice Chair Harris for helping guide me, supporting me in this transition to chair. I want to especially thank former Chair Commissioner Ross for your guidance as well. So, thank you. Without further ado, it is my honor to speak to you here today, but an even greater honor to introduce Bishop Harris.
Blessings to all. It is a privilege and an honor to be here today. I did share with Ms. Jordan Banks, who has been a guide to me at this time as I was catapulted into this position to be the keynote speaker today. And I said that it is very dangerous for you to send me this assignment and not give me a time span. I am a preacher. And so she did quickly respond and say about 5 to 10 minutes. I said, that's good. That's good. But I thank you all for this privilege and this honor of being here on today. Most of the things that were said about me already in the bio that was sent forth, I want you to know I did not write that. I paid for that. But I can submit to you, since we're standing before Crio'S, a bunch of lawyers and everyone, that it is true. Those things are true. My mom moved us to the city of Detroit back in 1974. It was after a rough time, obviously, here in Detroit. The riots had passed. But when you were born in Chicago, you learned that also the riots were there as well. My mom moved us here, a family of 12, yes, all of them coming from 4'6" Mother Dorothy Harris, whose stick was a lot bigger than her stature. She moved us here because I had older brothers, and she was concerned about gang life and violence. And at that time, even with the aftermath of the riots in the city of Detroit, she still thought that there was more economic opportunity and educational opportunity here that existed for my brothers in Chicago. So we moved here back in that day, and my mom began to teach us, and she raised us in the faith. I always wanted to tell people, some folk think that Bishop is my first name, but it is not. Daryl is my first name. It's the one that my mom gave to me. It's the one that I love the most. It means be loved by God, to be God's darling. And I appreciate that much coming from, because one of her major lessons to all of her children is that she taught that we are to do good at all times, as much as it was earthly possible for us to do. She had a quote that said, good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good becomes better and your better becomes best. It is with that philosophy in life that I endeavor to fulfill the role of becoming the Good Samaritan, or the helper at all cost. She taught us concepts like empathy and how much that meant in the world today. The song that I came up on, it is a song that I wrote and then I performed about empathy, because I'm so concerned about the light of empathy showing in a city such as ours. Empathy is the idea of doing and how you would want others to do for you. It is a principle. If one is really going to say that they do good in the world, you must be empathic. Sometimes in the city of Detroit, I had to understand that being empathic doesn't start with the way that the city treats me. It starts with the way that I want the city to treat me, so that I can treat the city with that energy. That's important to say, because the city has not always treated me fairly. It's not always yielded me blessing. It's not always yielded me good. You're looking at a man who unfortunately had to hold his brother's head in his hand as he watched him murdered in the city streets of Detroit by gunfire. You're looking at a man who had to hold his wife after she was brutally attacked in his home, and he wasn't there to prevent that rape. Looking at a man that's been carjacked not once, but twice at gunpoint and actually shot at in the second, barely escaping with his life. I've gone through a lot in this city. Looking at a man, and I can tell this story now, who was falsely accused for a light bill in the city of Detroit that really wasn't mine. That mayor at the end. However, you're looking at a man that's been through a lot. And people often ask me, how can you continue to help this city when they've taken, or it's taken so much from you? And it's because I truly value the concept of empathy. Somebody's got to start. Nothing successful has ever happened in this world without someone starting that success. You cannot wait for success to come to you, or you cannot wait for goodness to come to you. You cannot wait for blessing to come to you before you start being good, or before you start blessing people. You have to find that within yourself, because the light has to shine from inside out, not outside in. I believe that the reason that we're here today is because Creo and the Human Rights Commission and all of us who have chosen to do good have found that within us, because the city has not always been fair to us either. Many of you, if you were on this microphone, could share some of the same atrocities happening in your life. But we're here today because you chose not to shy away silently in the night. You chose not to go down without a fight. You chose to look within yourself and to give a city something that in the moment, maybe it did not give to you. And because of your boldness, and because of your empathy, and because of your courage, you dared to go first. To say that even on a city block, or even with the city government, or whatever it might be that I'm facing that is not yielding the effect that I want in this city, I dare to go first and be empathic and not wait on someone to do good to me before I do good to them. You made a decision that no matter what happens to you in this city, many of you could have run away, moved away, gone other places. You dared to be bold enough to stay right here and say, good, better, best. Never let it. Your good becomes better, and your better becomes best. And it is because of that that we're celebrating men and women today whom have stood through the test of time. That history of riots and the things that have gone on in this city, some of them were there to see those army trucks and military tanks pulling up and down the street. And why are they still doing good today? Why is a Commissioner Bill Ross still doing good today? Because he dared to go first and say, it doesn't matter what has happened to me. I want to pour out the good that I would hope someone would pour out to me. And as we are here today, even if you're not receiving an award, it's okay. You're here today because you sit amongst great people who have chosen to have empathy in their heart and to dare to take anything less than a safe, beautiful, fun city to live in. I applaud all of you in this moment. What's missing from the world today is empathy, but we've been chosen to give it back. Thank you for this time. I appreciate you much.
Bishop Harris. We had the honor of walking with Bishop Harris on a ceasefire event in the city as a group for Creo. And it's about doing the work. As you all know, this is about resilience in action. That's our common theme here. resilience in action, honoring the strength and courage and the commitment that you've all shown. So keep in mind our theme of peace and resilience. We're going to pivot back to our video. I heard it's ready to play, so we're going to cue it up and see if the audio works now. Deputy Mayor Malia Howard.
Great morning, everyone. Malia Howard, Mayor for the City of Detroit. It's an honor to join you today for the Detroit Civil Rights, Inclusion, and Opportunity Human Rights Awards Program. This event is a celebration of the remarkable individuals and organizations whose tireless efforts have advanced equality, inclusion, and justice in our community. Detroit's story is one of resilience and transformation, and at the heart are the stories of all the advocates, leaders, and change makers who work every day to ensure that opportunity is accessible to all. Today, we recognize your contributions and reaffirm our shared commitment to building a city where human rights are protected, voices are uplifted, and everyone has a chance to thrive. To the honoree, your work inspires us. You remind us that progress is not only possible, but inevitable when we work together with courage and determination. Thank you for your dedication and leadership. Let us leave here with a renewed purpose, ready to continue the work of building a more just and inclusive Detroit. Thank you. Congratulations to all our honorees.
Yeah, let's give her a hand. History in the making. You look back on this in 30, 40 years and say that Malia Howard was our deputy mayor, the second woman to take that position. And, I know her roots in coming through the community and really being connected to the community and doing that, paving a way for residents' voices to be heard on multiple levels. And I want to take the time now to honor our doctor of residence, Dr. Mandy Mitchell, to come forward to give our human rights pledge, because this is Human Rights Day. So we're going to take the pledge of human rights with Dr. Mandy Mitchell leading the way.
Good morning, everyone. So do we have this up? All right, I'm going to ask if everyone would read this with me. I will respect your rights regardless of who you are. I will uphold your rights even when I disagree with you. When anyone's human rights are denied, everyone's human rights are undermined. So I will stand up. I will raise my voice. Thanks, everyone.
So, the moment we've all been waiting for, to honor our distinguished guests with their awards and the presentation of the awards, we're going to have our distinguished guests come up and acknowledge each award, and they'll do the presentation for the awardees. The first one will go to the Human Rights Award, which will also be the Human Rights Award. In addition to the Civil Rights Award, will be presented by Lisa Kent, the manager of the Civil Rights Department for Crio'S. Lisa Kent.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad to be here at the 6th Annual Human Rights Awards. As Renard said, I'm the Civil Rights Manager for Crio'S. I've been in the Crio'S department since 2011. So I'm proud to announce that one winner swept both categories, civil rights and human rights. So I will read the criteria so you can understand what things that we came up with to select a winner. So for category 1, the human rights, this nominee in this category demonstrates a strong and unwavering commitment to upholding human rights aligned with the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights within the city of Detroit. Anyone whose commitment is evident in their words, actions, policies. So, for example, let's talk about championing equality and non-discrimination. This individual should actively work to uphold human rights regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, religion, disability, and socioeconomic status. They should also engagement with underrepresented communities. That means they should be viable efforts to engage and empower underrepresented and marginalized communities within the city of Detroit, ensuring their voices are heard and their needs addressed. Measurable impact. That means that there's clear data that shows that they have made a difference in the city of Detroit through their work. That's category number one. One winner now. Category number two. This is the individual who fights for and protects Detroit's civil rights. The civil rights that we have protections under the Civil Rights Act of 1964, under the Elliott Larson Act in Michigan, and under Chapter 23 of our city code. Now, these categories include civil rights, engagement with communities, and measurable impact, as I talked about in human rights. Nominees for this award should have substantial and long-term contributions to the furtherance of civil rights. This person should be one who engages and fights to empower underrepresented and marginalized communities. And it is my pleasure to announce the winner of both Category 1 and Category 2 of the Human Rights Award and our Civil Rights Awards for 2024. Marvis Cofield, founder... Wait a minute, I gotta tell you all what you do. 1 second, I gotta kind of read your story. Okay, he's the founder of Aquila Village. He provides a unwavering commitment to human and civil rights through mental, moral, and martial program that defines the village philosophy. His visionary leadership ensures the empowerment of Detroit Black community, teaching cultural rooted in mental fortitude, moral integrity, and martial discipline to address systematic inequities. Mentally, Mr. Cofield has instilled a deep sense of pride and self-awareness in the community by emphasizing educational and cultural identity. Through programs that teach Black history and heritage, he equips individuals with the knowledge and challenge social barriers and advocate for their rights. Morally, Mr. Cofield has led by example, cultivating a legacy of service and ethical responsibility. His actions reflect a deep respect for the dignity of all people, as seen in his efforts to create a safe, holistic spaces for youth and families to thrive. Policies and programs at Aquila Village teaches self-reliance, accountability, and mutual respect, all of which promote the foundational principles of human rights. Martially, Mr. Cofield initiatives teach discipline, resilience, and collective strength. Activities such as martial arts training serve not only as a physical empowerment, but also tools for community building and self-determination, empowering individuals to confront challenges with confidence. Through his words, his actions, his policies, Marvis Cofield has dedicated his life to advancing human rights in the city of Detroit, making him the ideal, the best, the better candidate for this honor. Please give a round of applause for the invincible Marvis 24 recipient of human rights and civil rights.
The camera panned up, King pointed to the mountaintop, and we ran up. One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours, it will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure, we will be sure. Oh, glory, glory, glory. Oh, glory.
Wow. That's all I can say initially. But first of all, giving God, who is the head of my life. I always said, you put God first, you'll never be last. I want to thank surely my family, in particular my wife, and Crio'S, because it's never me, it's a we. Crio'S members, friends, family, board members, would you all please stand up? Because this is a team. Wow. And of course, I want to thank Crio'S for, wow, every time I think, I talked to someone about a week ago, a couple of weeks ago, they were saying, well, I saw it on my email. They said, well, you didn't respond. I said, well, I saw it, but I didn't see it until human rights and civil rights. I said, Marvin's course, this might be, they're trying to set me up for something. They're trying to get you to sign up for something, whatever. I said, I ain't going for the okie doke. I said, and I said, well, I do know some people. Then I got a call for someone else. They said, well, no, that's the real McCoy. So they told me, I said, now, wait a minute. I was nominated, I said, for not one. They said, you made a history. This year, there's 2 categories. I said, 2 people nominated me? They said, no, it was more. They were nominated by some people, but people had to bring your nomination to the committee, and they came up with you being the nominee for the human rights and civil rights. And I'm very grateful, and just my mind is blown because I've gotten a lot of awards, and this is, I celebrate my 70th year. I look back over my life and said I made a difference, because in African-centered education is the thread that ties all people together. So it fits this for sure. And when you're talking about history, the day is Human Rights Day. This is December the 12th month, the 10th day, 2024. And the Crio'S Village is 46 years old. And I don't know how I get caught up in these numbers, but I look at the 12th month, the 10th day, and I look at 24, and I add that together. Guess what that comes up to? 46. So I said, wait, we got a lot in common. 10th, 12, 24, 46 years. Now, so let's not stop there. Human rights, 60 years ago, we couldn't go in a public place and eat without some resistance or some head busting, if you know that history. In 1964, there was a public accommodation where it said that we can eat anywhere and everywhere without any fighting or killing, going to restaurants, public places. And that was 60 years ago. You think that was a long time ago? 60 years in my lifetime. So I said, wow, I'm celebrating Human Rights Day. 60 years ago, we were able to go in places like this, especially in this neighborhood. You all may not know about what was happening 60 years here. So all of this is just God gift, and I'd say God intervention. And last but not least, 70 years ago, 1954, that was a very powerful year because I was born. Now, a lot of other people were born, but significantly, being an educator, where the Brown versus education, we know that it was a situation where they said equal but separate, but equal. It was never equal for sure. But thanks to, we know Judge Marshall and others who fought for that, Thurgood Marshall, 70 years ago in 1954, the decision came down that we should, separate equal was unconstitutional. So as I look at 46, 60, and 70, and then last but not least, July the 23rd, 1967, when the insurrection took place, that was my birthday. And that's it's a bittersweet thing because I had a lot planned for my birthday. And fortunately and unfortunately, based on social injustice and police brutality and all of the stuff that came out of that, it gave us an opportunity to understand that we needed to reflect the police department, economics, all of that should reflect those who live in that neighborhood, in that community, and it should be a situation that we will be treated fairly and equally. So on behalf of the Crio'S Village, because it certainly takes a village, I'm here representing us, and I'm glad we made a fuss. Thank you very much.
For every man, woman, and child. Even Jesus got his crown in front of a crowd. They march with the torch, we gon' run with it now. Never look back, we done gone hundreds of miles.
Marvis
Drum
Coates
roll,
here.
heroes,
Keebelon Village. So next, our distinguished guest is in the category to present the award for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Will be Angelique Boyer from our Human Services Department, Human Resources Department for the City of Detroit. She is our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion manager, Angelique. Yes. Manager. Angelique Boyer.
Good morning, everyone. As Renard introduced me, I am Angelique Boyer. I'm an HR manager over employee engagement and diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives for employees at the City of Detroit. I am a lifelong Detroiter. I grew up on the East Side. I went to school with Gregory and his sister. We've been friends like my whole life. So today I am reading the criteria and subsequent winning nominations for Category 3, which is Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. The person that is nominated for this award demonstrates a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion with a proven track record of actively promoting these within Detroit, whether through hiring practices, community engagement, and policy initiatives. This person should show leadership and advocacy in advancing diversity, inclusion, and equity in the city. This may include participating in public awareness campaigns, promoting diversity in leadership positions, and championing related causes. This nominee should exhibit cultural competency, respect for diverse traditions, and have a sensitivity to unique challenges and experience in various cultural and ethnic groups. This includes comprehensive initiatives that promote diversity and inclusion through educational programs, outreach efforts, especially in schools and educational institutions. The individual creates and expands economic opportunities that are equitable and accessible to all, regardless of race, religion, disability, ethnic background, gender, gender identity, and expression, or socioeconomic background. As far as community collaboration goes, this person actively collaborates with other community organizations, the City of Detroit, and stakeholders to address diversity and inclusion challenges collectively. It is my pleasure to announce the winner of the 2024 Category 3 Human Rights Award for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Now, I'm going to say her name, and I'm going to need y'all to pause so I can read her accolades, okay? I want to say congratulations to Mary Engelman. So, Mary serves as the Detroit Police Department's first appointed Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Executive Manager. Before joining the Detroit Police Department, Mary served as a Deputy Director and Interim Director of the Michigan Department of Civil Rights. Prior to this role, Mary was appointed as the Executive Director of the Michigan Women's Commission. Mary has an extensive background in leadership, government affairs, and community outreach, as well as operations and budget management. As the DE&I manager, Mary has made her rounds in person and virtually during her tenure at the City of Detroit. Her strategic mission is to engage our workforce and communities about the importance and many layers of diversity, equity, and inclusion, including workshops hosted by our very own Office of Disability Affairs, our employee resource groups. Thank you so much, Mary, because I'm over employee resource groups. The Police Department and our annual Juneteenth celebrations, Women's History Month, and so many other engagement events. Mary's skillful training techniques and passions make her worthy of this recognition. She has caused so many to become introspective and ultimately committed to addressing inequities and stereotypes that can hinder how we work and serve in our communities. Mary continues to bring awareness, knowledge, and insight to this important work. Some of Mary's current and past professional affiliations include co-founder of Equity and Public Safety Alliance, member of the National Association of DE&I Professionals in Law Enforcement, the NYPD Equity and Law Enforcement Advisory Board, and Crio'S Communication and Engagement Task Force. And the list can go on and on and on. So please give me a round of applause for the unstoppable and my friend Mary Engelman, Crio'S 2024 Human Rights Award recipient in Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion.
10 Hail Marys, I meditate for practice. Channel 9 News tell me I'm moving backwards. 8 blacks left, death is around the corner. 7 misleading statements by my persona.
Martin Luther King, he just wanted to be a pastor in Atlanta. And then when he got there, he saw the injustices, the inequities. And he said, I can't just be a pastor. I have to do more. You know what that says to me? It says to me that we are all advocates and Martin Luther Kings. If we change just our environment, our little world, we can make a change across this globe. And it was interesting because I've met so many amazing advocates and people that live their lives every day for human rights and civil rights. And I work for the Detroit Police Department. But when you think about policing and how it was created, it was the slave patrol. It was to keep black people in their place. So the roots of police have never been good. And every riot, every civil rights march, there were police there to keep the community down that it's supposed to serve. Well, no more. It is not okay. It was not okay then, and it's not okay today. And so being at the Detroit Police Department, being in the throes of it, is to change minds, to help people see and accept differences despite themselves. Despite themselves. And I do that every day. I touch every police officer at DPD. I train over 2,600 a year, and I'm just speaking the truth. And I have seen some movement, and I'm not saying that we've got a lot of people that they're going to always get it right, but we're going to do better, we're going to be better, and we're going to do it to serve the community in which we love and which we belong. And so thank you so much for this honor. I get very emotional because the fight is real. The fight is real every single day, and it is not easy. And so when you're sitting in a room with people that are like-minded and that mindset of making that change, how can it not move me? And so thank you for what you do, and thank you for the space where I want to keep fighting every single day, even when I don't feel like fighting every single day. So I appreciate you so much, and God bless. Thank you.
Mary Edelman, we do a lot of great work, and we continue to do that work. So our next category for the presenter will be Christopher Samp, who is the Director of Office of Disability Affairs for the category of accessibility. I'm going to ask Christopher Samp to come to the mic.
But I see it in you, so we're going to walk it out. Move mountains. We're going to walk it out and move mountains. And
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Christopher Samp, and I'm speaking through a sign language interpreter. And I'll be reading the criteria for our next winner for Category 4, Accessibility. Nominate the individual, the category is accessibility. Nominate the individual who promotes initiatives that focus on making public spaces, services, and facilities more accessible to individuals with disabilities and all members of the community. This can include transportation, accessibility, education, inclusion, affordable, accessible housing, emergency preparedness, and viable employment opportunities, amongst other things. The nominee in the category has implemented inclusive policies and practices within their workplaces or through community initiatives. These policies should actively promote accessibility and this individual makes significant in increasing accessibility and fostering inclusion within the community. This could be demonstrated through statistics, case and testimonials. Include those who actively engage, and consult with people with disabilities and relevant stakeholders to ensure that accessibility measures are effective and meaningful. Now it is my pleasure to announce the winner of the 2024 Category 4 Human Rights Award for Accessibility, Dessa Cosma. Dessa Cosma, since 2018, has been a transformative force. Since 2018, Dessa has been a transformative force in advancing accessibility, equity, and inclusion for Detroit's disabled community. Through her visionary leadership, she has empowered countless residents while bridging the gap between the disability community and broader social justice movements. Dessa founded Detroit Disability Power to grow the organizing power of the disability community, grounded in the principles of anti-racism and economic justice. Under her leadership, Detroit Disability Power has worked tirelessly to advocate for voter education and rights, ensuring that disabled residents have a voice in shaping our city. Dessa has also spearheaded workshops for residents and developers focusing on creating truly accessible housing that meets the needs of all Detroiters. Her efforts have not only empowered individuals, but have also educated corporations, organizations, and city officials. Dessa has provided best practice workshops to nonprofits and government entities, fostering understanding and inclusion. By securing critical funding, she has ensured that disabled Detroiters can thrive within a supportive and equitable community. Dessa's commitment to accessibility goes beyond advocacy. It's about building a city where every person can live, work, and participate fully. Her work has set a gold standard for accessibility and inclusion, making her deeply deserving of this prestigious recognition. Now, let's give a round of applause for Dessa Cosma.
Thank you so much, Christopher. I'm feeling so emotional this morning, and it means so much to be receiving this award in general, but specifically to be presented the award from Christopher Samp, who's the first director of the Office of Disability Affairs and someone who has become a close friend. To actually just even to be given the award from a person signing is huge.
to have somebody in a position like yours, Christopher, a fellow disabled person in this position really means a lot. So thank you so much. And just as a quick history lesson, in 2019, the disability community came together and told City Council and told the mayor, we need an Office of Disability Affairs. There's a lot of us here in Detroit. There's 130,000 disabled residents, and we're not yet getting what we need. And we ran that campaign, and I'm really happy to say that the leaders of our city listened, and the mayor established the Office of Disability Affairs and hired Christopher as the first director. This is an awesome movement for the residents of the city. So Detroit is my adopted home. I came here 20 years ago after Hurricane Katrina. I'm from the other best city in the world, New Orleans. And I thought, maybe I'll stay in Detroit for a few years while my city rebuilds. And then I met all of you. I met all of the amazing people of Detroit, and I started learning about the history and culture of this place that honestly was nothing more than a name on a map before I showed up. For me, of course, it was much more than that for millions of others. When I got here, I didn't know how awesome this place would be, and hence 20 years later, I'm here. I'm so honored to get an award for the work that I've been doing. And I want to be really clear that I'm accepting this award on behalf of our team at Detroit Disability Power, two of whom are here with me today, Ruth and Casey. And this small but mighty team is so impactful and so beautiful and so visionary that I'm just the luckiest person in the world to get to work with them every day. And none of the accolades that I just received would have been possible without the whole team. And really, it's important to uplift the hundreds of thousands of disabled residents who still have a lot that we need. So I think the theme that I'm feeling emerging from this conversation today is one of we are awesome and we've done a lot, and yet we have a long way to go. And that's certainly true for the disability community in Detroit. It's really heartening to see some of the movement that's been possible in recent years. But we're not there yet. We got a long way to go. And while you might think of accessibility as something like a ramp or an elevator, and if you've ever used one of those, you're welcome. That was our community that made sure they were there. But it's not just ramps and elevators. It's making sure that our programs and services are truly equitable and accessible to people with all sorts of disabilities, intellectual disabilities, folks who are blind, people who are deaf. It's not just the stuff that you can see in our community, although that is very, very important. That infrastructure matters. It's also the processes and the procedures that our city uses to communicate and to provide services and to offer programs and to engage residents. And so anywhere that you are, to Mary's previous point, we all have a sphere of influence. Anywhere that we are, we can be lifting up folks who aren't at the table yet. And I really ask you to bring a disability analysis with you, bring the needs of our community wherever you go, and make sure that we can fully participate. And then we can start giving these, we can give like 100 accessibility awards, and we can be making extra change, which is so needed. Last thing I just want to uplift is I've been heavy today thinking about Human Rights Day while there's a genocide happening. And the music this morning was so beautiful and so moving. And I think it's so important that we celebrate all of the accomplishments of the awardees today and so much more. But also we have a long way to go to protecting human life and to respecting people who are different than us. And so my prayers are with all the people impacted by the genocide in Gaza and with all the people who are trying to come up with a meaningful and permanent ceasefire. The next however many years are going to be hard for civil and human rights. I'm scared for the disability community. I'm scared for communities of color, trans communities. And yet, when I look around, I feel really heartened that we're in this together, and we're going to be fighting back against anything that hurts our people. So thank you so much.
I do
Thank you, Dessa. I've learned a lot from Dessa over the years and being able to be trained in a way where ableism wasn't even aware of it, but now I am. And I thank her for sharing so much, because the Office of Disability Affairs, like she said, it's 28% of our residents in the city of Detroit have a disability of some sort. And so when we get rid of the stigma, part of this whole outreach effort in our community and what we do in our department, as you can see, it's a broad stroke. It's just not about color. It's about ableism. It's about ability. It's about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we're going to get to justice, too. So we're going to keep working and do our due diligence. But we have another presentation. And this presentation kind of culminates all of the things that we're talking about and how we've learned and been led. We want to bring forth Lisa to give out the Crio'S Award. And she'll tell you what the Crio'S Award represents.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our Deputy Director, Tanika Griggs, could not be with us today. She is ill, and we're sending our healing powers and healing prayers and thoughts her way. But when this recognition came up, she immediately raised her hand saying, I want to be there to present this award. I'm honored to present the prestigious Crio'S Choice Award. Each year, Creo, along with our Human Rights Commission, and I wonder if our commissioners would please stand at this time and be recognized, all of the Human Rights Commissioners. I see Dr. Paul, Bishop Harris. Our chair is there. Thank you so much. We have a powerful commission, and every year at its discretion, they identify a nominee whose commitment, passion, and achievements align with our mission and focuses on our departmental pillars. There's that word again: civil rights, inclusion, opportunity, human rights, access, diversity, equity. We also note when one name tends to trend across all the categories, and there's one such person this year, and that is Mr. Bill Ross, our outgoing chair of the Human Rights Commission. Mr. Ross, I'm so honored to step in these shoes. There would be our deputy director here, but I'm just honored. He's a phenomenal man, and I'm just so honored to know him in my role under Creo. Mr. Ross is our immediate past chair and the Human Rights Commission, and by unanimous decision, we are proud to bestow this recognition on him today. Mr. Ross has served on the Human Rights Commission for the past 6 years, and 5 of those years he was its chair, and he has served with distinction. Mr. Ross possesses more than 40 years in management and as a business consultant, and has a consistent record of serving our communities at large in the areas of development, fundraising, business planning, program development, civil rights, and so much more. His strengths as a community and corporate leader make him one who's approachable, professional, resourceful, innovative, and he gets the job done. Mr. Ross has a consistent record of fighting for the rights of others and ensuring follow-up and resolution. And as a result of his tireless work in this role as chairman of the Human Rights Commission, it is our honor and privilege to acknowledge his hard work among his many awards, such as the National Business League Legacy Award. He's the recipient of the 25th Annual Women's Informal Network Award, African Women Economic Consortium Against All Odds Business Awards, the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Commercial Revitalization Award, New Detroit Outstanding Service Award, the State of Michigan Small Business Leaders Appreciation Award, and National Black MBA Association Lifetime Achievement Awards. And his bio goes on and on. So many other awards too numerous to name at this time, but I'm sure you all will agree that we here in Creo, as well as our Human Rights Commission, would agree that Chairman Ross is worthy of this year's Crio'S Choice Award for outstanding service and personifying our theme, Resilience in Action. Thank you, Mr. Ross, for your exemplary service. Let's give him a round of applause. Across all categories, for devoting your life to this work and to ensure human rights and civil rights, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility are continually upheld. God bless you, sir.
Ever since, it's been a long,
Come on up.
long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. It's been too hard living, but to die. I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. I go to the movie and I go downtown. Somebody keep telling me no.
Morning and afternoon, so I'll say combo. First of all, I want to thank Director Zander and the Crio'S staff for their ongoing work day in and day out. I'd like to thank my commissioner partners. They're there, they give of themselves without asking of anything in turn, except that we do the right thing. And it is an honor to be a part of such an honorable body. A couple of minutes, because some of the things that I say, oh, they did that, well, they don't need me to talk about it. But I'd like to say my journey started in the 50s with my mother Naomi and I walked the streets of the Jeffrey Projects to pass out literature and urge people to register to vote for the first black city councilman, William Patrick. And from that point on, the journey continued over the years. And there's one thing that I will say is that once you make a mark, if you don't use an eraser, it will just grow stronger and stronger. And I'm thankful for that. I say my journey has been one of many years, but I couldn't have done it without the support of family and friends. I think about the times as I was sitting there when my wife and I left Word of Faith on a Sunday morning, 8 o'clock service, and go to get something to eat. And then I'd go home and go to the office. Be there all day on Sunday. And I say to myself, I hope she ain't mad. And then at the end of the day, because I didn't drive because of my visual impairment, I'd have to walk. But as I walked down the street, there's things that I remembered. And I remembered those who had taken time out to say, Ross, sit down, listen. I think about those such as William Peck, founder of BTW Businesses. I think about Mr. Ed Brazelton, who would come and say, Ross, just let me talk to you. First black person that had a florist shop in the city of Detroit. I think about J. Carlton Mays, who called me one day and said, and he said, just listen, and told me things that he wanted to see me do. And over the years, I've had many individuals that have stepped up and provided me with that kind of support and guidance. Never asked for it, always accepted it. So, me, and I think about my friends, I'm most appreciative. And when I would be over there on a Saturday night, or Sunday rather evening, all day after church, my key to go home was, I had a little TV in the office, wasn't watching it, just listening. But my key to go home was when programs came on. One was Highway to Heaven, and the other was Touched by an Angel. And after I listened to Touch by Angle, I said, it's time to go. So over the years, I've been most appreciative. And I'd close by just giving you a couple remarks. My granddaughter, Journey, she's 8 in the 3rd grade. And every morning before we take her to school, she does a recital in the car called Commitment to Excellence. And I want to share with you to say we start early, and it'll stick with us. Commitment to excellence. Of the person who did it. Autograph your work with excellence. The difference between failure and success is doing it nearly right and doing a thing exactly right. If better is possible, good is not enough. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. And I decided to share with you. I'm sitting at my home office, and I said, I looked on my wall, my artwork, and I have artwork there. And the big words at the end of the artwork, it says respect. The name of the artwork is called The Thinker, and I want to tell you what's written there. Focus on the hard times ahead with thoughts of those who before you. Focus on the mission ahead with thoughts of your role as a leader in the community. Focus on the challenges of your family with thoughts of their needs first, personal needs last. Focus on your people with thoughts of actions to make their dreams come true by any means necessary. Yes, you can become the thinker. And there are 3 pictures in that piece of artwork. The first one has the word peace written up under it. The person is Dr. Martin Luther King. The second person has the word power written on his name. Former President Barack Obama. And the third one that has a picture on his name with the word respect is Minister Malcolm X. And I look at that daily, and it gives me the courage to continue to move forward. So I'd just like to close with one thing. Many years ago, when I left Wayne State University, technology was not the laptop, they had a little computer, that was it. And I got a call from a member of the mayor's staff, Mayor Coleman Young, who told me there was a position that me to take as a director of training and employment services for unemployed Detroiters. The population were 99% people of color, women, who were either unemployed, benefits that ran out, or receiving some kind of aid. And he says, we want you to take over this program, Ross. And the person, Mr. Leon Shear, and I says, why? He says, well, 2 things. Number one, Ollie McKinney, who was director of the department, he says, Ollie don't want to go back and tell Mayor Young, that we sending all this money over to Wayne State University, and we ain't got no black folks over there in charge of nothing. Second thing he said, you can handle it. So I took the position, and that was the beginning. And when I left Wayne State University Computer Science Department, my office was in the building called the Center for High Technology across the Masonic Temple. And the business department was housed there. And the people gave me a little surprise going away event, and they gave me a card. And that was over 40 years ago. And that card, I took it and I put it in a marble picture frame as part of a desk set that my wife had bought it for me. And I have it on my desk to this day, and I read it daily. And I want to share that with you. Success. To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people, and affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics, and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Thank you and God bless.
Be careful with that water. We'll go around that way. Yeah. Commissioner Ross. We have one special award that the employees of the Crio'S department insisted upon in this occasion. And so we have someone who they want to honor for hard work and dedication, and Sierra Eddington is going to come forward and present this special presentation. Sierra.
Combo, everyone. Jumbo. He said combo because it's the morning and the afternoon, right? So here I am as a chair of 3Cs, which is our Crio'S Culture Champions Committee. And so here in Crio'S, the Crio'S department, we wish to celebrate and uplift our employees in our division, in our department. And so in our team, we thought there would be someone who, with nearly 30 years of experience, relationships, knowledge within the city of Detroit, someone who has stood up over time, years, leadership, because there have been changes in leadership over that time, but maintaining the vision and the strength and the purpose and care and empathy that we talk about through civil rights and human rights within the city of Detroit for its residents, for its employees. There are things that are unthinkable that have happened over the years in civil rights and human rights, and this person has stood to ensure that employees are respected, their civil rights are maintained and intact, their voice is heard. This person said to me one time, "We care for our people. We take care of our people." And we wanted to honor this person. Lisa Kent, we truly appreciate you. We honor you, and we wanted to give her an award for her resilience in action. There you go.
Going to say two words. Thank you. I really appreciate this award. I'm definitely surprised. The things that Sierra said are true. I've been in this department for a while. I've seen lots of things, and I'm an advocate for and a champion for our city employees. I am, and I want to make sure that everybody is treated with respect, and that we have a respectful workplace. That's one of my goals. And also that we have a city that is inclusive of everyone and opportunities for everybody. That's kind of my thing. So I'm just thankful for this award. Y'all shot me with this one, but I'm happy to receive it, and thank you all.
Lisa Kent. And so as we come to a close, we ask our director, Anthony Zander, to come to the podium and give us some closing and final remarks. And in saying that, it has been a pleasure for me to be the master of ceremony for this event. But be clear, we'll be back stronger than ever next year. We got work to do. We got a strong team, and we are going to get it done, adding in the category of opportunity. So I'll turn it over to our director, Anthony Zander.
Good afternoon, everyone. And so, first of all, I just want to show appreciation to everyone that attended today. I want to acknowledge all those that have been recognized. I kind of had a couple of things that I wanted to say, but I'll be honest, between Renard and Jacob's history on the city of Detroit and how the development of what we know today as a department at Civil Rights, Inclusion, and an Opportunity. I definitely want to acknowledge Lisa Kent. Lisa Kent we talk about the longevity, we talk about the history, we talk about maintaining consistency throughout our departments. I met Lisa Kent years ago, prior to me even being in this position, in this role, working for Crio'S. I was a newbie under the mayor's office, and Crio'S was one of the first departments that I was assigned to work on a couple of projects. So I definitely want to acknowledge Lisa. Thank you for welcoming me in during that time, because I was super nervous, but you made me feel very comfortable. And just, again, congratulations on a well-deserved acknowledgement. And so, I won't go through the history of where we are and how we got here, but I would like to say, thinking about some of the history lesson we got for Jacob is how we're here today, the reason you all are here. Continuing on the fight for everything that the recipients have mentioned, that they spoke on, and understanding that the fight continues. It does not stop. It does not die. We have great external partners. Thank you. I appreciate it. Pete coming out. Camila, you have done a great job. And every time I see you, I love hearing you speak. It's just fantastic. And so, again, it's our internal partners, our external partners. We have to make sure that this isn't the end whenever we acknowledge someone, whenever we say, okay, yep, this person or this org has been recognized. It does not stop. We will continue on every year after year after year after year. And so as you guys are out in the community, you guys are fighting that good fight. Think about those that have not been acknowledged. Think about those that should be acknowledged, that you think that are representative of what it is that we are doing here in the Department of Human Rights, and in all our different categories. So all I ask that is that, remember, we are here, we're fighting every single day. It will not stop, it won't stop, because you won't allow it to stop. And so again, I want to thank everybody for coming out this afternoon, this morning, and please, again, keep doing what you're doing. And I just want to say that thank you, and I appreciate everybody here today. And I definitely want to thank my staff for putting this together. They're doing the job as they do year after year. And I just want to thank everybody here, the staff of the City of Detroit, media service, to working together to bring an event like this to make it happen and end up where we are, and with a happy event, and we walk away and we're feeling good about ourselves. So again, thank you, appreciate it. Everybody have
how much fun it's gonna be together.
All right.
This Christmas, the fireside is blazing bright.
Happy holidays, everyone.